Charles was a businessman who lived with his wife, Catherine. They had been married for 3 years and loved each other very much. One day, they received wonderful news. Catherine was expecting a baby. Both of them were overjoyed. Many servants worked in their house. Mrs. Martha, the housekeeper, was kind and responsible. She managed the home well and cared for Catherine like family. As the baby's arrival came closer, Charles and Catherine prepared a lovely nursery. They decorated it with soft colors and tiny baby things. With happy hearts, they waited eagerly to welcome their little one. One morning, Charles and Catherine were having breakfast together. The table was set with toast, butter, boiled eggs, fresh fruit, and a glass of warm milk. Charles spread butter on his toast, while Catherine was eating her boiled egg. He picked up the glass of milk and gently placed it in front of her.
"You need to drink this,"
he said softly. Catherine made a face. "I don't like milk." Charles smiled but spoke seriously.
"The doctor said your blood pressure is low. You must be careful."
Then he said,
"Martha, please make sure she takes care of herself."
Martha, who was pouring tea for Charles, nodded, smiling. Catherine sighed and finally picked up the glass. Charles looked relieved and continued eating his breakfast. One evening, Miss Martha was in the lounge. Catherine was sitting there when she suddenly stood up and collapsed. Martha hurried to her. "Ma'am! Ma'am!" She shook her gently, but Catherine didn't respond. She ran outside, calling the servants. "Ava! Laura! Help me carry her, quickly!" Then she shouted, "Driver! Take out the car! We need to go!" Charles was busy with work when the phone rang. He picked it up.
"Oh no,"
he said, his voice trembling.
"I'm coming."
Soon he reached the hospital. Martha was outside the ICU.
"Sir, ma'am suddenly became unconscious,"
she told him. After a while, the doctor came out. Charles stepped forward desperately.
"How is she?"
The doctor said,
"Your baby boy is born, but your wife, her blood pressure was too low. I'm sorry."
Charles felt his world shatter. Martha stood in shock beside him. After the funeral, one day, Martha brought the baby to Charles's room.
"Sir, look, the baby is so cute,"
she said softly. Charles shook his head.
"Take him away. I don't want to see him."
Martha's face fell. She nodded silently and walked out, holding the baby in her arms. Months passed. O'Neill was now 7 months old. One day, he was crying and wouldn't stop. Martha was walking around the lounge, holding him and trying to calm him. Charles came out of his room.
Please, make him stop.
He shouted. Martha panicked and went to another room. Years passed, and O'Neill was now 10 years old. One night, Martha brought him milk. He made a face.
I don't like it.
He said. Martha smiled gently.
This is good for you,
she said. O'Neill slowly drank the milk, and then said slowly,
Aunt Martha, I wanted to talk to Dad. About Mom. About my friends. About everything. But he doesn't even look at me. I'm sure he doesn't love me.
Martha's smile faded.
No, he loves you very much. When you were about to be born, your dad decorated the nursery for you. He just couldn't show his love.
O'Neill smiled sadly.
My mom, she's gone because of me.
Don't say that, my child,
Martha said quickly.
It was just fate. Now, sleep.
O'Neill lay down and closed his eyes. Martha turned off the lights and left. Soon, O'Neill's birthday arrived. Martha had decorated the lounge and made everything ready. O'Neill was waiting excitedly for Charles. As soon as Charles entered the lounge, O'Neill ran to him.
Dad, today is my birthday. I didn't cut the cake without you.
Charles's face flushed with anger. He looked at Martha.
How many times must I say? I don't like this. Because of him,
He said, pointing at O'Neill.
I lost Catherine.
Then he stormed into his room. Tears ran down O'Neill's face. Martha hugged him tightly. O'Neill wiped his tears and said,
I won't celebrate my birthday anymore.
One day, O'Neill met with a road accident. While returning from school, Charles was in his office when he received a phone call. His hands began to shake.
My son.
He rushed to the hospital. After some time, the doctor came out of the ICU.
I'm sorry.
He said quietly. Charles broke down in tears. After the funeral, the house felt empty and silent. That night, Charles slowly walked into O'Neill's room. Everything was just as he had left it. His books on the desk. His small shoes near the bed. Charles sat down, his heart heavy. His eyes fell on a diary on the bedside table. With trembling hands, he opened it. Inside, he read,
Dad, I love you so much. I always wanted to see you happy. Even if you were angry with me, I still love you.
Charles couldn't hold back his tears. He pressed the diary to his chest.
I love you so much, my son.
He sobbed.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
One night, Charles was sitting in his car near a street corner grocery store. A few workers from the store rushed toward him.
Sir, did you see a girl? She stole some food from our shop.
One of them asked. Charles shook his head.
No.
They moved ahead to search for her. Charles started his car and drove home. When he reached his house and stepped out of the car, he said,
Come out.
A young girl slowly came out from behind the gate. She was trembling, holding some fries and a sandwich.
Come with me.
Charles said calmly and walked inside. She followed him quietly. Martha looked surprised but said nothing. Charles brought the girl to the dining room. She stood nervously.
Sit.
Charles said gently. She slowly sat down. She ate quietly, as if she had not eaten for days. After dinner, she stood up. I should go now, she said. Charles looked at her.
Why did you steal?
Tears rolled down her cheeks. I am not a thief. My name is Julie. I lost my job. I was hungry. I had no one. Her words echoed in Charles's heart. I had no one. Charles glanced at Martha.
Martha, take her with you. Give her a room.
Then he turned to Julie.
You are safe here.
The next morning, after breakfast, Julie walked toward the door.
You may stay here.
Charles said. Julie looked surprised. Charles smiled gently.
Will you marry me?
Julie blushed. Martha, standing nearby, smiled with relief. Soon, Charles and Julie were married. With time, they were blessed with a baby boy. Months passed, and little James was now 10 months old. One night, Charles was sitting on the floor, playing with James. The baby giggled happily as Charles lifted him in the air. Julie sat nearby, smiling. You only give time to James. Charles laughed.
Don't be jealous.
Julie shook her head with a smile. Dinner is ready. Come soon, she said and walked away. O'Neill stood quietly in the corner of the room, smiling gently.
Dad, I am so happy you are happy now. That's all I ever wanted.
And then he slowly disappeared. Charles felt a familiar fragrance in the air. O'Neill's perfume. A tear rolled down his cheek. Just then, little James touched his face with his tiny hand, as if wiping his tear. Charles hugged James tightly, breathing in a soft, familiar fragrance.
O'Neill, you will always be in my heart.
And for the first time in years, Charles felt peace in his heart. Moral: love lives forever.